Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Post to Post. My name is Neil, and we're here to talk about some playoff hockey. Boston Bruins versus the Washington Capitals. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of the series, compare some stats, give my predictions, and go from there. So you can see the jerseys in the background. Obviously, the teams we're talking about, Boston and Washington. But if you want to know for the future, hey, Neil, what video is coming next? What series are you going to preview next? Peep over here. I don't know if you can tell. If you use your detective abilities, you might be able to tell what teams are on the opposite side there. So that's what video is coming next, and that'll be a trend for the coming videos. So if you're subscribed and you watch all the videos, take note of my other little wardrobe set over there. All right, guys, so let's jump into this. I'm going to put a graphic up on the screen that shows some stats, but I'm going to walk through it a little bit. Not a lot here, just a couple. So this is based on the season. Wins for Washington, 36. Wins for Boston, 33. Losses, 15 for Washington, 16 for Boston, close there. OT, 5 for Washington and 7 for Boston. Points, 77 versus 73. Washington gets the win there. Goals for, 188 for Washington versus only 164 for Boston. That surprised me a little bit. But goals against, here's where Boston takes the cake. 164 goals against for Boston versus 161. Now, 161 is not actually that bad, but 134 is really good. Power play, 24.8 for Washington versus 21.9 for Boston. And penalty kill, 84% versus 86%. Basically even there, but some decent penalty kills for both teams. Now, I've kind of broken this down into, I'll call them factors. So I've picked a couple of factors for Washington that are going to be, I don't want to say game changers, but really important aspects of the series, in my opinion. So I've got 3 for Washington, and I've got 3 for Boston, and then I'll tell you my prediction at the end. This isn't going to take long. So let's start off with Washington. I mean, Washington, look at their power play, 24.8%. Their power play has to be as good or better. They need to utilize their special teams and try and dominate as much as possible. I'm not necessarily saying go out of your way to draw penalties or anything like that, but when you get a power play opportunity, laser focused, and capitalize see what I did there, as much as you can, because the Boston Bruins are going to beat you up as the series goes on. I think it's going to be a physical series on both sides. Washington's going to beat up Boston, and Boston's going to beat up Washington. So I think there's going to be some bruises, and I think the efficiency of both teams may come down as the series goes on. So utilize some of these quick power plays, these early power plays in the series, whether it's in the first 3 games or whatever. Just really focus on that power play. Discipline, they need to be disciplined. Boston can also strike on the power play. Now, they're one of the most inconsistent power plays. I think they've gone on really good streaks and then what's going on streaks. But Washington really needs to be disciplined. But they need to be physical, smart physical hockey, not taking stupid penalties and stuff. If you're going to take a penalty, you better be bringing the other guy with you. Make sure it's worth it, or make sure it's in the defensive end. Don't be taking no offensive end penalties. Ain't got time for that, okay? Physical, but smart physical hockey, disciplined. Now the other factor, my last factor for Washington, is 3 players: Mantha, Ovechkin, and Backstrom. Now Backstrom and Ovechkin have had kind of a down year. Ovechkin isn't a young pup anymore, and he's already got the cup, so he doesn't have the same drive as he used to, but he still wants to win. So does Backstrom, but they've had kind of a down year. Now, by down, I mean basically a point per game, which isn't really down, but they're kind of elite players, so they need to be elevated beyond that. So they need to show up in the playoffs in a big way if Washington is not only going to beat Boston, but win the Stanley Cup. They need to be better in this series, in these playoffs, than they have been this entire season. Let's see if that happens. And then Mantha, they went out and they acquired him. They paid the coin to get him. They gave up some things that they're still debatable, but he came in, had some a lot of success in a couple of those games, and then I think it was one game I watched. He was absolutely the best player on the ice on both sides. And then I think it was maybe 4 or 5 days later, I watched another Washington game, and he was kind of invisible. So Mantha needs to play. Mantha really needs to elevate his game. He needs to kind of come into this team and just give it his all, because he's not really had an opportunity in Detroit. No offense, Detroit fans, if you're watching. But anyways, let's segue over to Boston. My 3 factors for them coming up first is consistent special teams. So I kind of mentioned it before. They're a little bit inconsistent in the power play. And Washington is pretty good on the penalty kill, but you're still going to have to probably rely on your power play a little bit. So Boston cannot afford to have a stinker of a power play. They need to be consistent, which is a weird thing to say because the team is really offensively gifted, especially in the top 3 of the top 6. So they should have one of the best power plays in the league. So consistent power play is going to be, I think, a factor for Boston. The other one is to shut down Washington's power play. So we talked about how Washington needs to really, go full steam on the power play. But Boston, I truly think if Boston can shut down Washington's power play, Boston's got this series in their hand. This from that one factor. If Boston concentrates on shutting down that power play, and it's difficult. It is difficult to shut down the Washington power play. It is legendary, absolutely legendary in the NHL, in the history of NHL. One of the best power plays ever in the NHL. And they need to just do whatever they can to shut that down. And I think that is maybe one of the biggest factors in the entire series. It could be a series changer if they're able to lock that down. Now the last thing I have is depth scoring. So like I said, Boston has that one big line and then really good second line as well. But they need depth scoring beyond that. They need to get some contributions from the third and fourth line. They need to get not necessarily risky plays, but if you're killing a penalty, Washington is one of those teams that they're so talented on the power play. Surprise them a little bit. And Boston's really good at that, specifically Brad Marchand. So I want to see that from their penalty kill. I want to see, Brad Marchand isn't a depth player. He's a superstar, but I'm just saying, kind of surprise him a little bit and take some risks and some depth risks. Maybe a player that isn't typically known as a goal scorer, surprise Washington a little bit and see what happens. Take a shot from an odd angle. So I want to see a lot of shots from Boston depth. They need the scoring, and I think it's going to be a factor. So my official prediction is Boston is going to win in 6 games. I don't know about Washington, and I know that I'm kind of basing this on the last month of the season because Washington has looked and Boston has looked Boston's played very well. Boston is coming into this playoff maybe better than they've looked in a couple of years when they went to the Stanley Cup. Boston is rolling right now. So I'm going to base my prediction on momentum, and the Bruins have it. The Bruins have it right now, guys. So my official prediction is Boston in 6, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Washington won. It's one of those series. You got 2 incredible teams facing off against each other, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be one of the series I'm most excited to watch, just because I think it's going to be super physical. I'm not necessarily looking forward to listening to Jack Edwards, but I am looking forward to watching the series. Now, who am I cheering for? Because I know people in the comments are going to ask me that. I don't really know. I, as a Canadiens fan, don't like Boston, but I like a lot of Boston players. I would say I like more individual players on Boston than I do the Montreal Canadiens. Don't tell the Habs I said that. So it's hard to cheer for Boston, but it's really easy to cheer for the players. Now, in Washington's case, I would say that I like the Washington Capitals more than the Boston Bruins, definitely. But Washington just won a cup. I've just seen Ovechkin win a cup. I've seen Backstrom win a cup. They need to take a break. So I would be happy if they beat Boston. I'd be happy if they went on to the third round, the conference finals, even the Stanley Cup finals. But I don't think I want them to see them win another Stanley Cup. So I don't really know who I'm cheering for. I'm probably cheering for individual players more so than teams. So if I dig deep, I'm likely cheering for Boston in this series, and I don't necessarily want to say that out loud, so just pretend I didn't say that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below for series previews coming up. We got the bracket prediction coming up. We got more jersey unboxings coming up, jersey concept videos, all kinds of hockey talk on the channel right now, and I would love for you to jump aboard if you're not subscribed. So have a great day, and I'll catch you soon. Adios.